Welcome to the latest of my deep dive videos. Today I'm going to explore the retrograde of the mighty Jupiter, the second largest planet in our solar system after the luminary, which is the Sun. Jupiter traditionally very much thought of as being linked to fortune. It's the greater benefit. Over the next 4 months of the retrograde, are we going to be unlucky? I'm going to go through this with you. But it's important to understand that Jupiter doesn't just have its Sagittarius characteristics. It's also very influential as the co-ruler of Pisces. I'll unpack all of that for you. Also, I'll share the event chart from a solar perspective that we can all collectively relate to, and then also the natal perspective. There's some relationships feeding into this event which will provide a backdrop for the whole of those 17 weeks. Jupiter's retrograde for 32% of each year, so it is a big deal for sure. But then, please stay with me. I'm going to go through each of the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour of what you can expect in terms of your ascendant, sun or the moon. If you'd like to discover what year 2025 holds you personally based on your unique birth data, if you order your forecast now, I'll give you the rest of this year 3, and in my special package 30% off. You'll get searing insights, so much information to guide your moves. Please see the link below for more. If you'd like to have a one-to-one with me, please see my testimonials below. And also, if you'd like to download my Jupiter factoid, you can do so if you're a patron. You can become a patron from as little as $3 a month. Please see the link below for more. So Jupiter goes retrograde on the 9th of October from 21 degrees and inverts through to 11 degrees Gemini by the 4th of February next year. That's 17 weeks in total, or around about 32% of a whole year. So it is a significant event for sure. But the big question I want to pose is Jupiter retrograde intrinsically unfortunate? That's what I'm going to be diving into here. The event begins at 7:04 and 24 seconds AM Universal Time. And that retrograde begins in the third decan of the sign of Gemini, subruled by the steady eddy of the zodiac, Saturn. So quite a serious footnote. But it inverts into the second decan on the 6th of November, subruled by Venus, which of course is very much about relationships, but also money. So that's very important to consider. But I feel that when we think about Jupiter, we tend to think about its Sagittarius qualities, and there's nothing wrong with that. But Jupiter also is the co-regent of the sign of Pisces. So first of all, I want to go through the themes of Sagittarius and Pisces and what their Jupiterian instincts provide to us. So in the sign of Sagittarius, it is very much about the potential for good fortune, growth, positivity, joviality, an appreciation of higher knowledge, a thirst, a quest for greater information. Can be about international borders, very much in the news at the present time, but also trade internationally. It can be about prosperity. It's a sense that things can work out well if we set our intentions to it. But one of the downsides of Jupiter energy through Sagittarius is also a potential to be rather dogmatic, a little bit too attached to beliefs or higher beliefs, or a kind of I know best type of energy. So we've all experienced someone who tends to be like this, and it can be a little bit difficult to deal with. But through its influence of Pisces, it's much more to do with spirituality. It can be to do with healing. It's definitely an opportunity to connect to a higher part of ourselves, but here it can also be creative, friendly, and generous with time and also empathy. So what about its location in Gemini? Well, as I primed when Jupiter moved into Gemini at the end of May, Jupiter is detrimented in the sign of Gemini, and that's because Jupiter rules the sign opposite, but also rules the sign that squares the sign of Gemini. Pisces. But it's not just about that, because the Sagittarius energy is asking us to get in touch with our higher purpose, whereas Gemini energy is about fast communication. It can be very exciting, and Jupiter here can certainly give us an enthusiasm to mix and mingle, have fun, connect with people who stimulate our minds. A lot of journalists, for example, could have Jupiter in Gemini. But the key is that Jupiter can promise more than it delivers. And because Gemini is a very fast-moving communicational energy, maybe here it doesn't give us the opportunity to consider things, to pause, just take a breath. It's all about that very, very rapid interaction. So the retrograde doesn't necessarily point towards misfortune, but what it does ask us to do is to dive deeper within ourselves to unearth our potential value, our potential fortune, not be so mindful of what's coming from outside of us. And I feel that that's something to really strongly consider. So, of course, the sign of Gemini can be about siblings, neighbours, our immediate community, can be about technology, how we connect these days, particularly through social media. But what we're seeing in the world in general is a lot of claims, and sometimes those claims can be quite outlandish. So we're living in a post-truth age, and that's what makes Jupiter in Gemini quite a tricky influence. It's going to be here through to the 9th of June next year, when it moves into the sign of Cancer. Now, it loves being in Cancer, it's exalted there, it's not so happy in Gemini. So over this next 4 months, we're being asked to double down on what we're being told, but also what we think, to make sure that we don't make quick conclusions. And that's essentially what the retrograde means for me in Gemini. But what we have to be very conscious of is the event chart. I'm going to share with you from a solar perspective what this means. This is where we moved the ascendant to 0 degrees Aries, because that's the start of the zodiac. And of course, in that context, Jupiter in Gemini is in house 3. And you can see there, Jupiter's forging a delicious link to Mercury, the ruler of Gemini. So we have some mutual receptivity. And that is a very lucky influence. So if we're wanting to connect to people, Mercury in the sign of relating, there's a huge opportunity, as long as we're sincere, and that's the key, to tune into that Piscean energy that Jupiter has, to express our ideas in a way where we say what we mean and we mean what we say. But what are the challenges? Well, we need to be mindful of the players in the 2 signs ruled by Jupiter, not least the moon. So the moon's right at the end of its journey through Sagittarius. Guess what? It's in a square with Neptune in the sign of Pisces. And that's particularly challenging. That can create a real maelstrom of misunderstandings. Because the moon in Sagittarius can be very proud and perhaps dislike being closed in or closed off or limited. But what we can have here is the moon square with Neptune can see a lot of subconscious fears and anxieties explode into the open. So as much as Jupiter and Mercury give us a real opportunity for clarity and perhaps fortune, particularly if you buy or sell, that square between the moon and Neptune is very tricky indeed. So particularly when we consume stuff online, I feel, because the sign of Sagittarius is our perhaps connection internationally. We're gaining so much data from all over the place. Sometimes we get totally overloaded. And the energy of Neptune, which of course is in a retrograde in the sign of Pisces, suggests that there can be some distortion. So don't believe anything essentially that we're told or we read without really fact checking it, diving down deeper in a more scrutinizing way. But what are the other influences? Well, Mars is also squaring up to Mercury, the ruler of the sign of Gemini, and that can see us make very fast, rapid assessments of situations, but in a much more emotional way than we may be particularly conscious of. Now, ironically, Venus and Mars forge a gorgeous link through this event. If you are someone who's enjoying a love relationship, and it is full of bright exchanges and it's good to be with one another, there could be that more emotional dimension that can pitch you together. But I think it is very important to understand our deeper motivations. Now, the energy of this event chart will prevail through those 4 months. That's an absolute fact. What about the event chart from a natal perspective? Well, I'm not going to go into this in a massive amount of detail, just to say that the position of Jupiter in that context is in house 8, and house 8 can be very much to do with where we're most invested emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, romantically, or financially. So if there is a situation in your life where you're not quite sure of where the land lies, it's going to be even more important to drill down to get that information out that gives you that greater sense of clarity, especially because Mercury is in house 12, and house 12 in itself has a rather Piscean type of energy and could distort the critical capabilities of Mercury that come through its rulership of Virgo. So important to be mindful about the money, but important to be mindful about where we're deeply invested. So those are the 2 themes from the event chart natally, based on Greenwich, not because I'm in the UK, but because of the prime meridian. And also it's universal time, not based on London time. So that's a chart we can all relate to. You know that Mercury is feeding into Jupiter in a very dynamic and positive way, but you know Mars is also rushing Mercury, which can cause some issues. So over the next 4 months, what is the standout influence we need to be mindful of? Well, it is on the 24th of December, because Saturn and Jupiter are both in retrograde now, and they're going to meet in an exact square. And that square occurred at 14 degrees and 1 minute. It's the second exact square between the two. The other one occurred on the 12th of August. We're going to get a repetition next year on the 15th of June, but by then Saturn will be in Aries and Jupiter will be in Cancer. If we think about the 2 archetypes, Saturn can be restraint and limitation. It's also the ruler of time, can be about karma, self-discipline, hard work and application. But Jupiter can be much more frivolous, particularly through that Sagittarius energy. Oh, this will be a certain success. And Saturn's saying, but what about the deeper psychological dimensions? So in terms of the overall zodiac, Saturn in 12, in the sign of culmination, is asking us to be very aware of what our drivers are that perhaps are not particularly obvious. So our deeper motivations, and also be aware of any gossip doing the rounds. So whether we're talking about elected individuals, whether we're talking about who we work for, whether we talk about our own personal situations, there could be some people being held to account just before Christmas in a very, very powerful way, because that's an aspect which really is seeing 2 chaffing influences. Jupiter's desperate to get on with it in Gemini. Saturn's saying, no, you've got to come back and understand how it feels. Whereas Gemini's not bothered about how it feels. It wants to convey a message. And Saturn's essentially saying, but what's the sincerity of this message? Are you really saying what's totally true and meaningful? So which are the zodiac signs that are going to be particularly affected by this event? If you have any placements between around about 23 degrees through to about 8 degrees in mutable signs, you don't have to be a Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius or Pisces, but you could have planets that are located. You need to look at where they lie within your overall natal chart, and that will give you an indication of wherever Jupiter's retracing its steps in that part of your natal chart. That's the area of life that Jupiter's asking you to scrutinize in a deeper inward way, rather than looking for outside breaks, which are probably much less likely to occur through the duration of the retrograde. Please stay with me now as I go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour of what you can expect in terms of your ascendant, sun or the moon. So Aries, welcome to your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of 2024 free, but also your life roadmap report and 30% off. This total package will give you Syrian insights. It's great value and totally unique to the person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. So Jupiter in the sign of Gemini has probably given you opportunities since the end of May to have some very bright and vibrant and zesty connections. But of course it did go into that right angle with Saturn, and August generally was quite a complex month. A complex month because in some ways something that you thought you'd laid to rest may have seemed to have gained or regained its energy, and it may be to do with a past relationship. Now that relationship didn't have to be a romantic one. It may have been a relationship with people in general. It may have been your relationship with yourself, because the sign of Gemini is very much about how we think, but it can be our beliefs and how we express them. So Jupiter slowing down is asking you if there is still some residual stuff washing around in your situation, particularly as we get to the 24th of December, to try to work through this as painstakingly as you can, because that's what Saturn asks us to do. Jupiter may be in a hurry, urging us to move on to the next exciting new connection or adventure through its rulership of Sagittarius, but you're being asked at the present time to slow that thinking down, slow those interactions down, and perhaps in some ways weigh up the value that certain people have in your life, because Jupiter is about trying to elevate your thinking, your philosophies, either in a healing way or in terms of your larger knowledge. So quick exchanges can still have a place to play, but I think you're craving more meaningful connections. So even if it's with people immediately around you or who you're connecting with at the weekends, if people aren't really those players that hold a great sense of sincerity, they're probably not necessarily the people that are going to feed your energy, the energetic exchange, in a really positive and dynamic way. And Taurus, welcome to your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of 2024 free, but also your life roadmap report and 30% off. This total package will give you Syrian insights. It's great value and totally unique to the person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. For you, Jupiter is in house 2. House 2 can be very much in keeping with the core values of your sign. Your appreciation of stability, security, knowing where you stand, but also, of course, of money. And the second house can also be linked to that other part of your nature which appreciates some luxuries or some very aesthetic goodies like organic vegetables and so forth. If you are someone who wants to lose some weight, this actually can be a terrific opportunity, because this window of 4 months can make you much more mindful of not getting caught up in the extravagance of Jupiter and really tuning into what's really essential. Now the square which is going to come with Saturn suggests that if there are people that you're linking to who have very different values to you, some of those relationships can reach a crunching point of no return by Christmas Eve. But also maybe it's about your long-term future. If you have been too optimistic about some of your investments, or your expenditure. You're being asked to get your future planning much more grounded. Because although you are an earth sign, Jupiter can just trick us into thinking that everything will turn out absolutely fine without any effort on our part. But that's not necessarily a conscious thing, because you can be very canny. But over these next 4 months, if there are ways you can chivvy a little bit off your costs, be a little bit more frugal about what you eat and drink, also become much more conscious of what your true values are and what you're not prepared to budge on when it comes to your future plans, but also the type of people and friends you will link with. So if there are some friends that you just don't feel that comfortable about, who tend to take you for granted or your generosity for granted, this is definitely a time to push back. So Geminis, welcome to your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of 2024 free, but also your life roadmap report and 30% off. This total package will give you Syrian insights. It's great value and totally unique to the person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. Jupiter cycles are broadly once every 12 years. We've had a little bit of complexity in recent years because Jupiter made its way through 4 zodiac signs over the space of about 2.5–3 years. But it has been with you since the end of May, and it's really pushing you for the first time in 12 years to be very single-minded about the things that you're creative about, the things that are much more to do with you identifying what makes you feel individual. Now, if you're someone who has a natural comfort with that, Jupiter's just urging you on. But I think what we have to understand is that Jupiter in your own sign is the start of a cycle. It's not necessarily the culmination. So if there are some things that you've been working on that are very exciting, you're very much engaged by, you won't necessarily get instant rewards for them. And in fact, by the 24th of December, professionally, if there's something that is very important to you, you may have to balance the reality of the situation with what the hopes you have had for it. However, generally, Jupiter retrograde could see you having to rethink certain elements of your approach. But all of it gives you an opportunity to just get your feet a little bit more in the earth. And because your ruler Mercury forges such a sensational link to Jupiter right at the start of this retrograde, continue to be very optimistic about what you can achieve, but Saturn's just there lurking around, just saying, look, whatever you're trying to develop, what's inspiring you, its outcome needs to work in the outer sphere of your situation. So how you connect to the world at large, anything to do with your work or your ambitions. And that's where the toggle point may be in terms of your hopes and the reality. So Cancer, welcome to your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of 2024 free, but also your life roadmap report and 30% off. This total package will give you Syrian insights. It's great value and totally unique to the person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. So Jupiter going retrograde for you is much more in keeping with its energies of its rulership of Pisces, because the 12th house where Jupiter is about those themes of healing, recuperation, withdrawal, just trying to understand some of the elements of life that aren't necessarily quite so tangible, but can be so terribly important. Now, if you are somebody who helps other people, your natural compassion can actually be heightened through this retrograde. You may even find yourself falling back on old talents or skills and redeploying them in some kind of new way. What about that clash that occurs with Saturn, however? Well, Saturn's in a part of your situation which is very much in keeping with the more Sagittarius vibe. It's about expansion, but we never think about Saturn as expansion. But what we can think about the ninth house is knowledge. So the knowledge you're developing at the moment, you could have a need to learn something, particularly if it's going on a course that's to do with learning some skills that's around holistic healing or medicine, naturopathic information, all those things, or it is more in the dimension of the mind and psychology. This can be a very enriching period, but it might not be that you're going to gain the information you want at quite the speed you want, or maybe it feels that things are going to slow down a lot. But once Jupiter returns to your sign on the 9th of June next year, that is going to be the beginning of a new cycle, but it is going to square it with Saturn. So whichever way you look at it, whether it's through this transit or it's the one next year when both Jupiter and Saturn have moved, you're going to go through a period where how you identify with the things that are really important to you, somehow or another, are going to be tested by the reality of the sometimes harsh and cold energies of Saturn. So you're going to feel scrutinized at times, particularly when you're feeling rather sensitive, but go with it, because this can be a very enriching 4-month period for you for inner personal growth and understanding. So Leos, welcome to your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of 2024 free, but also your life roadmap report and 30% off. This total package will give you Syrian insights. It's great value and totally unique to the person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. For you, Jupiter in the 11th house can be about your network, your friendships, your highest hopes, but also about your long-term plan. So a long-term plan might not go quite as quickly as you would like, to be honest. So over the next 4 months, things, particularly by Christmas Eve, things may move forwards, but slower than it is actually ideal. And in fact, even when Jupiter moves into Cancer next year on the 9th of June, it's squaring with Saturn. So it's not necessarily going to be a panacea then. And of course, Jupiter in the 12th house is a more reflective part of its journey. So it will be when Jupiter enters your sign in 2026 that you're really going to get the rush of Jupiter's vibe. So over the next 4 months, if you find yourself thinking a little bit differently about certain friends, associations and group activities, or some long-term plans are inhibited by a shortage of funding or financing the way you exactly want, dig in, because what Jupiter in the 11th house is going to do is make you much more aware of certain principles and certain people who have riches to give you, but not necessarily financial ones. Virgo, welcome to your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of 2024 free, but also your life roadmap report and 30% off. This total package will give you Syrian insights. It's great value and totally unique to the person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. Jupiter is going retrograde in your 10th house, which can be about success. But Mercury, your ruler, forges a beautiful link with Jupiter as this begins, suggesting that there are opportunities for you to improve your finances, but also in terms of your public standing and your recognition in the wider world. But things might not play out exactly as you think. And the key to it is going to be your relationships with other people. If you've got good relationships, for example, with colleagues, customers, clients, the chances are that Jupiter slowing down may require some rethinking, and perhaps also not setting your sights quite so high, but actually there still can be some real progress. But it's all about the quality of those relationships. And if there is somebody professionally that you find a bit tricky to get along with, or who you need to deal with, that's going to become very clear by the 24th of December. So Libras, welcome to your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of 2024 free, but also your life roadmap report and 30% off. This total package will give you Syrian insights. It's great value and totally unique to the person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. Your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast sees Jupiter go retrograde in an area of your chart which is very much in keeping with the Sagittarian side, because the 9th house is where we travel. It's where we get information and knowledge. It can be about holidays and vacations, but also it can be about perhaps professional training, or even go into an educational establishment. If you're trying to make progress in those areas, that's going to be the key. But Saturn, certainly by the 24th of December, is just going to remind you that some of the things that you want to embrace and find exciting and will broaden your horizons, there may still be some core obligations and responsibilities which pin you in a little bit and stop you having quite the freedom and space you'd really like. But if you are someone who's often thought, do you know, why didn't I do that qualification when I was younger? Or were your circumstances against it? You didn't necessarily have an easy childhood, or maybe you had to earn a living. If you do have a chance to really go forwards with some kind of qualification now, seize the opportunity. If someone offers you the opportunity to go on a travel plan to somewhere really different and enriching, even if it means you have to rejig certain elements of your situation, go for that as well. So Jupiter retrograde, I still feel, holds some opportunities for your sign personally. Scorpio, welcome to your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of 2024 free, but also your life roadmap report and 30% off. This total package will give you Syrian insights. It's great value and totally unique to the person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. Jupiter retrograde forecast sees Jupiter invert in the 8th house, and we know, of course, in the natal chart, Jupiter's also in the 8th house. That can be about shared finance, can be about investments. Jupiter can be very speculative because it's always looking for opportunities. So your opportunities need to be measured and evaluated very carefully. But that's where you have a great advantage, perhaps over some of the zodiac signs, because you're naturally very canny and inclined to look into the details of situations in a very forensic way. And also because Saturn is in the part of your chart to do with speculation and risk, that's already perhaps making you slightly risk averse. But if there is somebody that you really like romantically and you want to get closer to them, it is possible by the 24th of December that somehow or another circumstances just seem to go against it. But keep the faith. Perhaps you're being tested on how deep your feelings are about this particular person. So it really depends on your unique situation. And of course, Jupiter doesn't necessarily have to be about money or even intimacy. It can be about other things. And that part of you that does gather information, but in a very inner way, is going to be heightened by Jupiter's retrograde. So Sagittarius, welcome to your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of 2024 free, but also your life roadmap report and 30% off. This total package will give you Syrian insights. It's great value and totally unique to the person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. Jupiter retrograde forecast sees Jupiter go retrograde in your 7th house of relationships. Now, I feel it's really important not to just feel that because Jupiter's moved into your 7th house, that all your relationships are going to be tickety-boo. There will have been some astrologers, no doubt, claiming that that was going to be the case, and the next year would see you meet the match of a lifetime. If only it was that simple. What's evidently true is that when Jupiter comes into the square with Saturn on the 24th of December, if you're in any kind of relationship which doesn't work in an emotional way, then that's going to be a major issue. So you may really fancy someone, you may have great fun with them, there may be a wonderful natural chemistry, but if you don't feel at ease in terms of sharing your vulnerabilities or introducing your family, those weaknesses can be highlighted. But the great thing about Jupiter retrograde is it makes us think more deeply, and therefore you have an opportunity to savour the relationships you have. And those relationships don't have to be romantic only. They can be all sorts of relationships. But equally, it's important to have realistic expectations about what someone else can bring into your world. The 7th house can also be about open enemies in traditional astrology. So if there is someone you know you need to deal with, don't be too upbeat and don't be too open. Be a bit canny about what and how you process this relationship forward. So Capricorn, welcome to your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of 2024 free, but also your life roadmap report and 30% off. This total package will give you Syrian insights. It's great value and totally unique to the person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. Your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast sees Jupiter go through a retrograde in your 6th house, which can be about diet, health, fitness, exercise, responsibilities, obligations, work. But Jupiter doesn't particularly like any of those things. Jupiter likes to be free. If it's not free and easy for its Sagittarius energy, it wants us to learn in a more spiritual dimension. So you're really being pushed to take some of those areas more seriously, particularly if you've pushed back about some of the demands and disciplines that the 6th house can demand of us, because Jupiter can be a little bit of a rebel. I'm not doing that. No one's going to tell me what to do. That's the kind of inner narrative we can develop within ourselves. So you are being asked really to revisit those areas, because Jupiter can be about knowledge. Do scrutinise all the labels, do research online, get much more aware of the nutrients that you're putting in your body. That would be a brilliant way to make this work for you. And if you are in a job which you're just really not enjoying, by Christmas Eve it's all going to come up to the boil, and you do need to keep looking for another position that's going to fit your skill set, but also your aptitudes and your personality more precisely. So Aquarius, welcome to your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of 2024 free, but also your life roadmap report and 30% off. This total package will give you Syrian insights. It's great value and totally unique to the person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. It's your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast sees Jupiter go retrograde in the 5th house. The 5th house can be joyful. It can be about fun, sociability, mixing and mingling, romance. If you have kids, it can be about their activities and their successes. But the 5th house can also be very speculative, and Jupiter can be very much a go for it energy. So you're being asked to not go for it quite as quickly. It's about thinking about things a little bit more. It's about quarrying down deeper within yourself. Of course, once Pluto returns to Aquarius on the 19th of November, things are going to feel a lot better. But because Saturn, your traditional ruler, clashes with Jupiter on Christmas Eve, if you are planning pumping money into something, even if it's spoiling someone you really like, I would think again. This is definitely a time to make the most of your talents, but in as low cost a way as possible. Now, that doesn't mean to say you should be a skinflint and put that more generous side of your nature to one side, but it certainly is asking you to be even more inventive about how you take steps forwards. So that's the challenge for you. So if there's someone you really like, try to find a point of contact and connection with them that goes beyond grand gestures, because that actually is much more likely to be a sustaining, long-term and happy relationship. Pisces, welcome to your 4-month Jupiter retrograde forecast. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data, if you order now, you'll get the rest of 2024 free, but also your life roadmap report and 30% off. This total package will give you Syrian insights. It's great value and totally unique to the person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. Your Jupiter 4-month retrograde forecast sees Jupiter slow down in your 4th house, how it feels. But Saturn in your sign has been cramping your style over the last couple of years, particularly if you're born in the first half of the sign of Pisces. So there may be a situation, and it could be to do with where you live, how you live there and who with, that as much as you want to think the best of people, or you may want to change your home, you may want to extend it, create more space, because Jupiter loves a degree of space, somehow Saturn is coming up with a certain amount of constraints. But if you can work with what you've got, for example, if you're living in an environment you don't particularly enjoy and you're not finding it easy to find somewhere else to live, the more you can accept those limitations and try to find other ways to make your home and emotional life more fulfilling, rather than just transplanting yourself into a new situation, the more you'll work with this energy successfully. It's also an opportunity, Jupiter retrograde, to think very carefully about your emotional connections to others. If you have in the past tend to be a little bit flippant and put into one side things and distancing yourself in situations which haven't quite worked, maybe a chance to check out some of your past actions or your approaches will actually be a good way of growing, which is what Jupiter is about, but growing in your emotional world and personal understanding. It's been a great pleasure being with you for this Jupiter retrograde forecast. If you'd like to understand the full dynamics of year 2025, please check out my deep dive underneath this video. But for now, take care, all the best, and goodbye.